So I have a great project for you guys today. This is a pipe restoration I'm getting ready to do for the CR250, and it's a really easy project in the sense that it's not complicated, and you can pretty much knock this out in one day if you kind of set your mind to it and start early. So this is a really great way to make your bike look a whole lot better when your pipe isn't all trashed. So I think you guys are really going to like this video, so let's get going. Yesterday I finished my rebuild of my shock, and since I had all my Cerakote equipment out, I thought I might just go ahead and finish up some other items that I'm going to Cerakote on this CR250. So the first one is going to be this super nasty pipe, and it is definitely in bad shape. As you can see, it definitely needs some help. And so today I'm going to strip this thing down and sand it up real good, and we're going to hopefully make it look like new again. I'm pretty sure I will. This pipe looks pretty damn bad. Fortunately though, it isn't dented, which is just amazing, but this is all kinds of scratches and stuff on there, and there's a pretty significant amount of rust on here as well. So I take things for stripping outside of my shop because I don't want to get paint stripper on anything. So anyway, this sucker is about to get treated with some Jasco epoxy paint remover, and that stuff does wonders. So let's get in there and tear this nasty thing up and see what we can make it look like. I just want you guys to know I have used a lot of strippers in my day. Not the type that you put money in their G-string, the other type of stripper for paint. And I can tell you this, Jasco in my experience is by far the best. There used to be another brand out called Aircraft Stripper, and it was great, but somehow or another it seems like it's not as good as it used to be. I don't know if they changed the formula or what happened, but Jasco is just awesome, man. This stuff will rip through anything. I stripped the epoxy off of my spring for my motocross bike. I mean, this thing went through the pipe, as you'll see, and it's just amazing stuff. So as far as strippers go, to me, Jasco is the very best one that I found. So, you know, they're not sponsoring me, or nobody's sponsoring me actually, but Jasco doesn't give me any money or any kind of promotional benefit or anything for using their product. I just want you to know that I think that they are the best. So if I was you and you were stripping your pipe, I would recommend using Jasco paint stripper over anything else. And you can get the stuff at Home Depot or Lowe's, stuff like that, so it's readily available, but this is the best stripper you can get. A couple things to keep in mind when you're using paint stripper. This stuff will splatter all over the place, and you need to wear some really good rubber gloves, some heavy gloves that are made for dealing with caustic material. This stuff will flick up, you know, like off of these brushes and stuff. Just be really careful with it. It'll get all over you and it burns. So just keep that in mind. Wear long sleeves, wear your rubber gloves, and keep something over your eyes. This stuff is pretty dangerous and it's pretty nasty, so just keep that in mind. So this is round one of the stripper. It got a lot of it off. I did actually find a few dents on the pipe that I didn't see before, but they're pretty small, and I'm not going to worry about them too much. There are ways of getting the dents out using heat and other ways. There's a little dent right there, not too bad. There's another one, a couple, 2 or 3 somewhere else, but again, they don't really show up that much, so I'm just going to leave them. But you can see all that stripper, they got a lot of it off. So I've done a lot of stripping in my day. And I have a lot of respect for strippers. Anyway, just playing. So the stripper is actually really powerful, and I do have a lot of experience using paint strippers from time that I've spent working on cars in my life. And anyway, if I had a sandblaster, I would probably use a sandblaster rather than do this stripping. But unfortunately I don't have one, so this is what I'm having to resort to. But it's working. This is probably about 2 hours of work so far. Not easy, but anybody can do it. I've been basically stripping all morning. It took me probably 5 hours to get to this point. So I've gotten 90% of the paint off, maybe more, on this pipe. Still a little bit there. and some of these little spots like this are going to need sandpaper in order to get them clean. Next step, I'm going to do some sanding, and you'll see this pipe is going to be ready for powder coat right away. So looking pretty good, a lot of work. So just have to decide about your time, whether you prefer to just send this thing off to get vapor blasted or sand blasted, or whether you just like to do the work yourself. It's definitely a personal preference thing. So about 8 hours working on this today, getting it all ready. At this point, I have to clean this. It's sanded and there's water residue on it. I have to clean it. About to clean this stuff up, get it ready for Cerakote, and it's gonna look bitchin' when it's done. This thing's gonna look brand new. I got this air dry Cerakote that is gonna look fantastic. So I can't wait to show you the after pictures. Before I spray anything, I clean it with this stuff. Now the manufacturer of Cerakote, they recommend acetone, but you know what? I have used wax and grease remover for so long. This stuff is amazing, and it comes from Ditzler PPG. It's an automotive product, you know, basically made for spraying cars. But I mean, this stuff is just super fantastic. I love it. So it's wax and grease remover, and this stuff you can use for all kinds of different things. But in automotive circles, this is the last step usually before you paint a car, before you lay on the color. You go over it with acryliclean, and then you go over it with a tack cloth like this. And this is basically just a sticky cloth, and you can get these at any hardware store, really, Home Depot or Lowe's, whatever it is that you have near you. But you go over the job with a tack cloth. Then you can spray the color, the media, directly to the automobile. So this is like over the primer, basically. You go over it with acryliclean, and then you put a tack rag on it, and you know that picks up basically all the dust or any kind of latent stuff that's left behind from the rag that you use with the acryliclean. So that's the steps that I use. Now, as I mentioned, you know, Cerakote, they keep going over with acetone. They say acetone and everything, but I have never had a problem with Cerakote using acryliclean. So they recommend acetone. If you want to use acetone, that's fine. But if you don't, if you want to use, to me, like something a little bit more superior to that, this will definitely make sure that you do not have any kind of latent oil, like from your finger or anything like that. Also, whenever you use this thing, you should use it with some kind of rubber gloves or something, so you're not putting your fingerprints back on the work surface, and that might create an adherence problem with the media that you spray. So that's that. So next thing up is, this is the Cerakote that I'm using for this job. This is called Black Velvet, and this is from the Cerakote C series. These are air dry Cerakote products, and these things are ones that I personally prefer. So the traditional Cerakote is something that you bake in the oven, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a lot of extra work. You have to mix some kind of hardener with it. This stuff, you can basically, you know, strain it right out of the bottle, and it says right here a number 150 mesh strainer is required, which they sell. Cerakote sells those. And if you just strain this and put it in your gun, you can spray this stuff directly without any extra preparation. So to me, I prefer this. So this is what I'm using, the C series Cerakote Black Velvet. And on their website, you'll see that Black Velvet is very common color choice for things like pipes and things like that, dirt bike pipes and stuff. So you'll see a lot of other people, if you go to their site, using Black Velvet for motocross pipe. So this is what I'm using. I'm not going over the part about pouring it in your gun and straining it and stuff, because I did go over that in a recent video where I did a Cerakote job on a clutch cover. If you're really, you know, curious about the details, basically all you do is you strain this stuff when you pour it into your cup and follow the manufacturer's recommendations, which is to spray this stuff in an HLVP sprayer at about 20 psi. So nothing unique there. So let's go outside and do some spraying. When you're spraying Cerakote, one thing you got to keep in mind is that you should always work from the most difficult and hard to reach areas to the easier ones. So when I'm spraying, particularly on this pipe, I started working on the mounts, basically spray the mounts and then spray in the hard to reach places around the exhaust inlet where the pipe mates up to the exhaust on the header at the engine. any kind of mounting or whatever, you want to spray those things first. So this is the way the finished pipe turned out, and honestly, I think it's fantastic. So there were a couple little problems that I had with it. I overdid the thickness of the final coat, and I had a couple problems, and then later on I ended up scratching it as I mocked it up. So this fortunately is on the inside, but I did have a couple little blemishes where I put the Cerakote on a little too thick, but hey, you know what, overall it looked pretty darn good, and this is the first time that I've ever put this particular type of Cerakote on a pipe before, and I thought it turned out really good. So if you like doing this kind of work and you are handy in the garage, you can probably make this thing look even better than I did. I went ahead and mocked this thing up on the bike this morning after letting it set up overnight, and look how freaking good that looks, man. It turned out really good. Next thing is gonna go is that's gonna be my next Cerakote item. It's that clutch cover plate. That thing's gonna look brand new when I'm done, by the way. So man, big improvement over the beat up stock pipe. I'm really excited. It's fun doing Cerakote. So I hope you enjoyed this video on how to Cerakote your pipe and restore it to make it look like new. It really wasn't that difficult. It did take a lot of time, honestly, more than I expected, if I'm really honest. It took me about 8 hours to get this thing completely ready to spray. And by the time I ended up spraying, it was kind of late in the evening, and I ended up just letting it sit up overnight, which is probably the right thing to do before you start handling it. So I let it sit up for a long time before I took the pipe back into the shop to mock it up on my bike and check it out. So long story short is, if you are handy with tools and you enjoy doing this kind of work, go for it. It's not really that difficult. It's just one of those things that takes a lot of time. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate the thumbs up on my videos, and of course it means a lot to me if you subscribe. YouTube is big on subscribers and views and thumbs up, so all those things kind of help it along on my page or my channel so that I can continue to make new videos and hopefully bring you guys more information in the future about how to enjoy your dirt bike. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again. Have fun in your garage.